Here is my truth. I was fired from my job this past February, and it was 100% my fault. Allow me to fill in the details and chain reaction that led up to this event. See, for almost 15 years now, I've been a physical therapist, but my true passion is running. It's what makes my heart sing, and it makes me feel free. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to enjoy a career in which I enjoy my job, but have passion sprinkled in when I had the opportunities to periodically treat runners. Three years ago, I sat in this very auditorium when I began my journey with the Gray Institute and Applied Functional Science. While I had no idea what to expect, what I did know was that when I sat in here, it felt like home. And as we all know, home is where the heart is. And even Dorothy tells us there's no place like home. After the fellowship, I felt like my world of treating patients went from black and white to color. And I was so excited to go back, particularly with my running population, and share this information. There was only one problem. I was having a hard time integrating the truth of applied functional science in today's medical model, which seems to be more focused on paperwork, insurance, and forms. I tried to make both work by developing a running program that I did outside of my regular work hours because I was trying to follow my heart, which was applied functional science and running. But instead, I listened to my head, which told me to stay in a job that caused me constant frustration and anxiety. You can see where this is going. During the 2012 Olympics, I watched a segment on technology and running. And now with this truth and understanding of applied functional science, I thought, well, for the people that are using this technology, how are they explaining biomechanics to their athletes? I wanted to know this. So of course, when we want to know, we start a path to find out. Therefore, it put me on a quest to find one of these companies with the technology. And while so many of them were international, I found one that just happened to be 30 minutes from my home, located in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's one of those times where you look back in hindsight and you say, either God or the universe, when people tell you somebody was trying to tell you something, but you can't hear it. Oprah calls it an aha moment, or your friends later stand there and say, mm-hmm. We all know them, we've all had those. Now, Neuraxin is evidence-based technology whose sole purpose is to tell the truth about the body. This is done through singular or multiple systems that are integrated and will come together to tell the truth. Their MyoVideo, detecting 2D motion with cameras using either high definition or grayscale, 100 frames per second. MyoPressure, which detects force. MyoMuscle, which utilizes wireless EMG and is able to detect muscle activation and provide biofeedback. And MyoMotion, which is able to provide information about 3D movement. Neuraxin has been in the industry for over 25 years, but recently they've crossed over into clinical markets and human performance. And as a matter of fact, this past January, I purchased my own MyoMuscle unit for EMG and my own MyoVideo because I was so excited about this technology, I wanted to use it with the runners to help them even more in conjunction with applied functional science. So now, I had truth with Neuraxin. I had truth with applied functional science. And I had truth with my passion of running. All of it was smothered and taken over. I was out of balance in a job where I was miserable. I let it consume me, and my strategies to manage all of this failed. And rightfully so, I was terminated. After some time and reflection, I thought about it, and I looked back at these variables, and I realized that it had nothing to do with my employer, and it wasn't me getting fired from my job. I was rescued from my job. This got me away from my head and back to my heart. I still had Neuraxin, which would allow me to talk about the body. I'll always have applied functional science in the Gray Institute. And the gift this year was that I was a play coach mate, which gave me my spirit. So it only made sense for me to start a company and develop my own running program in my own company. And even though my passion is to keep runners running, I realized my calling is to help people jumpstart their lives. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to get everybody I know to quit or get fired from their jobs so they can do the same. I'm now the director of clinical education for Neuraxin, where my role is to share and to serve. I have the privilege of watching people transform their lives after they learn their truths. Take for an example, a 51-year-old female diagnosed with right posterior tibialis tendon. She actually had a tear. Normal conventional treatment would be to start treating her right ankle where the injury was. But now, with the truth of Neuraxin on the left side of the screen, the second column down, you can see the lowest waveform on there happens to be her left gluteus maximus. So the EMG from Neuraxin will show us this, but applied functional science explains the fact that if her left gluteus maximus is not firing, it's no wonder she's going to end up pushing off more on her right ankle, which caused partial tearing of her posterior tibialis tendon. It also makes sense that now she is no longer having pain because she understands the truth of applied functional science. She understands that her spirit has returned, and she also will be going for a birth at her 5th Olympic trials, and she just became a grandmother for the first time. Here we have a 42-year-old gentleman who had to just withdraw from the Chicago Marathon because of pain in his right hip. And now it's another way to see the truth that is shown through EMG, in which the columns, it's difficult to see, but the columns on the bottom shows the truth that his right gluteus maximus is firing. His left is one of the shortest columns on there. And so while we learned the truth there, we also had to show him through applied functional science and explain to him that while his heart was in the right place, stretching his right hip flexor in the sagittal plane, there's more ways we can do that, and show him how to stretch it in all 3 planes of motion. Teach him how to strengthen his left glute in all 3 planes of motion. This gentleman is now pain-free and working on his personal best for the Boston Marathon next year. You see, the thing that I've learned in the last 9 months is that Neuraxin has been able to show the evidence, but applied functional science is able to explain it. And the combination of those two allows us to change lives, which will allow us all to change the world. And what I'd like to do is basically read a quote that I think applies to GIFT Fellows past, present, and future. And it comes from the one and only Steve Jobs. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the one thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. Those who know me, and for some time have known, I've always been a big, huge fan of Jim Henson and the Muppets. One of my favorite lines comes from the first Muppet movie. And there's a song, and they say, "Life's like a movie, write your own ending. Keep believing, keep pretending." Well, each one of us holds a pen to write our own ending. So my hope is that you will keep believing, keep pretending, that you will find your own truth, and it will set you free. Now, I'd like to take a moment to disrobe and show you what happens when you set yourself free.